Hey everyone, we're back with yet another question based on the message from Sunday. And joining us again is Alyssa. The question we want just to throw around a little bit today is Pastor Andrew talked about opportunities that we still have, even amidst difficulty, to share Jesus' love. So how do we do that? And how do we have eyes to see new ways in which to do that? Connor, why don't you start?
So first, I really just want to share that it is really easy for our sinful hearts to justify not going out and fulfilling the Great Commission and getting really comfortable and focused in on what we really, really like to do and not get out of our comfort zone. I know I personally have to continue check myself because it's easy to get in like the Christian ministry bubble and not be rubbing shoulders with unbelievers. So I have to constantly think through this and check my own heart. So that's the first thing. We need to be checking our heart and asking that God would be convicting us if we are not doing what we should for the Great Commission. But a couple of big things that we can do no matter what is happening around us is first praying. And Rich gave a great quote in the last video from Oswald Chambers, but Mary Slessor had a really great quote on prayer I wanted to share. It said, prayer is the greatest power God has put into our hands for service. Praying is harder than doing, at least I find it so, but the dynamic lies that way to advance the kingdom. So prayer is really key to us going out and sharing the gospel. We need to be praying humbly in ourselves, asking that God would show up and work. We need to be praying in faith, praying for the people we know, the church around the world, countries around the world. So we need to be praying. We also need to be giving sacrificially to organizations that are maybe near us, to the church, to missionaries that we know personally. We can sacrificially give and have a part in the gospel going out to the ends of the earth, even if we aren't physically going out. And lastly, I think memorizing scripture is really key too, so that if we're in this sinful habit of justifying not getting out of our comfort zone, we can call back to a verse like the Great Commission or any other verse and remember, no, this is why I'm here, this is what I'm called to do. So real quickly, we need to have what we're called to do always on our mind, and we need to be thinking through what are the opportunities in my life. Is it family, friends, work friends, or maybe you're in the case like I find myself in where I go to a Christian school, I work at a church, so I'm kind of in this Christian bubble. So sometimes I have to go out, and I need to do this better, but go out and purposely try to find places where I can rub shoulders with unbelievers. So that's, I guess you have to think through where are you in, and that's kind of what my answer would be.
Thoughts?
I completely echo all of that, and I think one of the biggest things that stuck out to me too was how do we, when I hear difficult times, my gut response was, okay, well, like right now we're living in like a really troublesome time, and how do we show love to people when they're in troubled times? So like, I'm gonna say something that probably is controversial. We'll see if you guys see this video. It means that they passed it enough that you guys are hearing it. So my gut was, when I thought through this, it was just kind of being like, okay, we need to constantly echo Christ's character. We're called to humble ourselves before God so that we can be made into the image of Christ and echo who he is, or reflect who he is. That's probably a better word. And so we're amongst really difficult times with COVID right now and all of the protesting and everything else going on. And so one of the biggest things is by putting yourself out there in that community, I feel like a lot of the times you're going to run into people who don't want to hear the Christian answer to their difficulties and their problems. And even not right now, but if you're running into somebody in your circles who they just kind of are really struggling, or they're going through something hard like a death that doesn't make sense, and they're like, well, how could there be a good God who cares about me, who loves me, when my sister or my mother just died, or my brother, or whoever it is. And so I think a lot of the times us kind of coming into it with a just, well, here's the gospel, may almost turn them away. And so we need to, rather than strictly present them with the gospel, express the gospel, show them their love, and be there and support them and care for them, and not try to justify or rectify or be like, well, God's just teaching you something, but be like, look, I don't understand where you're at, because I know in my life I can see that God's hand is through this, but right now for you, I'm just going to show you love. I'm going to show you care. I think right now, especially with everything with going on, like I said, with protesting, with all these deaths, with COVID and everything, really just reflecting Christ's character, because people will notice. If you're reflecting his love and care for them and having that servant's heart, eventually they'll ask those questions, and that's when you're able to share the gospel.
I agree 100%, so that's not going to get edited out.
That's reassuring.
The reality is that when we step into the mess of people's lives, the first thing that they need sometimes is to know that there's somebody who's willing to listen, somebody who cares and will still love them.
And
right?
show that inconsistency.
And show that. Now, in no way does that mean that we never share the gospel.
Exactly.
Because that's not the gospel. Right? That's just a piece of it. It's what Jesus did, right? He fed people and took care of their physical needs first before he attacked their spiritual need. So right on with that. It's funny, as I was doing a quick flip through my Bible the other day, looking for a couple of verses, and went from Matthew through Jude. I didn't hit on Revelation because I knew it wasn't in there that I was looking for. But can I tell you how many times in yellow and in the margins I have written, Jesus or Paul or whoever the writer is talks about the affliction or the hardship or the difficulty the Christian's going to go through? I think that sometimes we think that when we go through a difficult time, it's like, oh, how am I going to bear this? This isn't normal. I think it is very normal for the Christian to go through persecution or difficulty or affliction, and those times of peace and absolute tranquility are probably the exception. But in all of it, Jesus tells us that he's there, that not to fear, that he's with us, and that he's going to walk through it with us. And I think that's really cool. The other part of that question that I really just wanted to tap on real quickly is how do we have eyes to see new ways to love people? One of the things I pray just about every day is that Jesus would give me his eyes to see people, to see those who are hurting, those who need the gospel. Just give me your eyes so that I might see that. Any other questions?
I was just going to say, and I think to echo what Connor said, we're only going to see through Jesus' eyes if we put ourselves in uncomfortable situations.
Yep.
So you have to put yourself out there.
Yeah, we have to get out there. We can't be happy sitting in our bubble. And it may be getting into an uncomfortable situation. It may be, I think I've mentioned this before. One of the reasons I coached baseball is because it was good for me to rub shoulders with people who needed to know about Jesus. It was good for me because I got to see things I don't always see. And it was good because it allowed me to build relationships.
So. There's a sermon series that I listen to, and one of the biggest things that I take away from it is just if you're uncomfortable, you're in the right place.
All right, guys. We'll see you on Friday with yet another question.